a new and different evil in the world by people who are totally fanatics.
The World Trade Center. You finished reading to the children.
The Proverbs 31 woman all the time. So,
In light of these events, QVC will be temporarily suspending.
Well, we want to say God bless the souls of those who have lost their lives today.
Hey, Sharon, maybe you should stop watching the news for a little bit. Sharon?
In the wake of 9/11 began the endless news cycle. Nearly every channel brought you devastating images of the attacks, or off-the-air title cards as regular programming was put on hold. As the days went on and the world remained glued to their television sets, the question became, when will things go back to normal? And what will normal be like? First Lady Laura Bush insisted networks aimed towards children continue their regular programming as a means for kids to have an escape from the horrors of every other channel. For the most part, adults felt this way too when their regular programming resumed. Viewers craved escapism. They didn't want to see Rachel and Ross go through the same pain they did. For this reason, a lot of television series chose to ignore the attacks. Past episodes are re-edited or taken completely off the lineup, and title intros were adjusted to remove the towers. SpongeBob SquarePants famously cut a joke about Squidward being lit on fire after it was deemed too inappropriate for children. So what was appropriate?
I don't want to blame it all on 9/11, but it certainly didn't help.
Unlike movies, television is more immediate. It demands to be topical and to be talked about. After the attacks, every writer's room in America asked, how will this affect our show? The good ones asked, what effect can our show have? This is a very broad topic, and I'm not going to be able to cover everything.
9/11 was bad.
There's a good deal of episodes set in the aftermath of the attacks, and even series created as a direct result of them. I'll just be focusing on the top 5 episodes I believe do the best job answering the question, what effect can our show have in a post-9/11 world? Before we begin the top 5, let's start with an honorable mention.
Today, there was a terrorist attack, okay?
Big Brother, Season 2, Episode 29. Reality TV is among the most immediately disposable television, but can find a second life as a time capsule. Nothing encapsulates the tropes and cliches of the time more than reality shows filled with the biggest personalities they can find. Big Brother follows a cast of above-average looking people sharing a house together as they compete in weekly elimination games. In the house, they are completely cut off from the outside world. During major world events, the showrunners will inform the house guests what has happened, and after 9/11, it was discovered one of the contestants, Monica, had a cousin who worked in the World Trade Center.
Today, there was a terrorist attack at the World Trade Centers, okay?
Okay.
You have a cousin who works at the World Trade Center, okay? Tamitha,
Yeah.
all right? She did go to work this morning, okay? The situation is they're waiting to hear from Tamitha. It doesn't mean anything bad, okay, at this point. I just want you to know this.
Okay.
It was later confirmed Tamitha Freeman did die on 9/11. This is a raw and emotional response to the attacks you don't really get to see. Most everyone was glued to the television sets and in contact with family. But the house guests of Big Brother are alone. They haven't even seen the images.
They did take out part of Washington, D.C. as well as New York.
I cannot believe what happened outside.
All they know is the world outside their walls isn't the same one they left behind. Number 5. Fire at Hooper's Store from Sesame Street. Teaching about fire safety is one of the most popular topics of children's programming. But this is about a lot more than that. This is about teaching children how to deal with trauma. Elmo has the same emotional understanding of a grease fire in Hooper's Store that most young children had of 9/11. How could this happen, and am I safe anymore?
Elmo doesn't want to go back into Hooper's store.
The chief said that the fire's out.
Elmo doesn't care, Alan. Elmo doesn't want to go back into Hooper's store ever again.
If any programming needed to address 9/11, even indirectly as Sesame Street did, it was that made for children.
What does assassination mean?
Kids need an escape from the world, but that doesn't mean putting a blindfold on them. Sesame Street was no stranger to difficult topics, and this episode is a masterclass in how to comfort children when teaching them the harder things in life. An additional episode was also made about intolerance, in which Big Bird stands up to a friend who refuses to play with Snuffleupagus because he's not a bird. Sesame Street did an amazing job talking to children about the attacks and their effects without ever mentioning them by name. Number 4. Strawberries from Ramy.
Dad?
You have whipped cream.
The slightly depressed millennial still discovering themselves plot is one of the most overdone TV genres of recent years, and while Ramy is among those ranks, it stands out as a real achievement. The show follows Ramy, a millennial Muslim, and for the most part covers his adult life as he attempts to strengthen his faith and meet the right girl. In the 4th episode, Strawberries, we are introduced to Ramy as a young boy on September 11th. He's actually in the bathroom oogling at a magazine page when the news of the attacks hits his school.
It's alright, kid. Just get back to class.
He's just a kid. I'm glad we're finally getting to see this perspective in entertainment. Anyone who wasn't that age after the attacks may think it's exaggerating, but as someone who is part of Ramy's generation, kids really were like this.
Are you a terrorist? Come on, you don't really believe I'm a terrorist, do you? You guys know me.
Things have to be black or white for them. Ramy is a Muslim, therefore he's a terrorist. The episode ends with Ramy having a dream of bin Laden raiding his fridge and eating strawberries. This isn't an accurate portrayal of bin Laden, much like Hitler in the film Jojo Rabbit. It's a child's view of a man who has been haunting his television screen. And the execution works better because of that.
No. I'm not like you. Because I don't want to kill people. I'm not a terrorist.
Ramy stands up to his vision of bin Laden, and after facing the intolerance of the other students, he actually makes a new friend. Someone also being bullied because of something outside of his control. I'd love to see more stories like this. I know that's the pitch behind the show. While there's been 100 different series in the genre, Ramy uses its platform to discuss the often ignored topic of Arabs in America. If you're tired of millennial TV, don't give up on the genre until you've watched Ramy.
Of course, an Al-Qaeda lover like Martin Luther King wants us to just roll over and let the terrorists win, because he hates America.
Number 3, Return of the King from the Boondocks. This isn't what Dr. King would have wanted. He's rolling in his grave right now. This is a common response to literally anything. The textbook American heroes aren't alive to say if they preferred Pepsi or Coke, but plenty of people alive have an opinion for them. The Boondocks presents an alternate history in which Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. never died and has instead been in a coma for over 30 years. The future he wakes up in is initially ecstatic to hear the words of a great American again, until he actually starts talking and they realize he's not a mouthpiece they can force their opinions through.
How do you think the United States should respond to the terror attacks of 9/11?
Well, as a Christian, we are taught that you should love thy enemy, and if attacked, you should turn the other cheek. What?
America shuns King after he comes out against the war in the Middle East, and he falls into obscurity in the eyes of the nation. This is a really powerful episode that serves as a letter of respect to Dr. King's conviction, and also to speaking up in a post-9/11 world. King isn't allowed to voice his opinions, but he does empower others like the writers of this show to voice theirs. After 9/11, Dr. King loses faith in America. But America, even if seen through just one boy, learns not to lose faith in his words. Hate is never the answer. That was a tough thing to say on TV after 9/11.
Everyone's checked in already. I know we're late. I'm sure we're getting in right under the wire before the cast of Survivor offers their insight.
Number 2, September 20th, 2001 episode of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is a hero in the 9/11 first responder community, and in general, just a great American. By this point, the majority of other entertainment personalities had given their attempt of comfort to the nation to well-intended but often awkward results. For the most part, Jon Stewart starts out the same, repeating the "I don't know what I'm doing here" thought process. But something changes when Stewart talks about his own personal experience rather than only his feelings.
One of my first memories is of Martin Luther King being shot.
Just as 9/11 had become the first major memory of so many children in America, he talks about his first memory of being 5 years old when Dr. King was killed.
When I was 5 and he was shot, here's what I remember about it. I was in a school in Trenton, and they shut the lights off, and we got to sit under our desks. And we thought that was really cool. And they gave us cottage cheese. It was a cold lunch because there was rioting, but we didn't know that. We just thought, my God, we get to sit under our desks and eat cottage cheese.
Stewart takes 9/11 personally. He takes injustice personally, and he takes America and everything that comes with her personally.
Any fool can blow something up. Any fool can destroy. But to see these guys, these firefighters, these policemen, and people from all over the country, literally with buckets, rebuilding, it's light. It's democracy. They can't shut that down.
The other talk show hosts mean well, but are just trying to survive their show. Watch every second of this speech when you get a chance, and you'll see a man doing his purpose in life.
The view from my apartment was the World Trade Center. And now it's gone. But you know what the view is now? The Statue of Liberty. The view from the south of Manhattan is now the Statue of Liberty. can't beat that.
Thank you, Jon Stewart.
Hey, look, an infidel.
Number 1. Osama bin Laden has farty pants, from South Park.
Remember when life used to be simple and cool?
The most accurate portrayal of life post-9/11 comes from South Park, showing the endless news cycle, American pride, and often paranoid fear everyone experienced. This is, in my opinion, the greatest South Park episode of all time, hitting equal high comedic and emotional notes, along with comforting viewers who are most likely just as scared as Stan's mom. The episode takes cues from World War II propaganda cartoons and portrays Osama bin Laden as a bumbling Looney Tunes villain.
Dude, these people are insane.
He takes hits from mallets and exploding dynamite. Despite the goofy cartoon parody, it honestly does a more effective job of explaining the conflict than even shows like The West Wing did.
Over a third of the world hates America.
But why? Why does a third of the world hate us?
Because you don't realize that a third of the world hates you.
That doesn't make sense. You guys are just buttholes. You're buttholes. You're buttholes.
It's a really memorable episode, and I believe it to be one of the great entertainment responses to the tragedy. South Park stayed true to itself while understanding that the world had just changed. The episode pays respect to the past while fighting to represent the promise of the future.
Go America. Go America.
What's more American than that?
Go Broncos. Yeah, go Broncos. Yeah.
Where were you in 9/11? American September is a documentary film project collecting stories from all 50 states and around the world. If you'd like to share your story, visit AmericanSeptember.com, where you can view all the memories collected so far. The link to the website is in the description.